ladies and gentlemen. It is Kevin Jackwitz here with the Cage Review. And I am going to review WWE Raw, and this is for May 21st, 2018. Sorry, these reviews are coming late. I downloaded an update for Windows 10 and it just completely froze my computer. So I had to go get it worked on, so I'm a few days late with these. Sorry about that. But I'm back, and Raw this time, I have to say, was pretty big disappointment, honestly. I was not happy with what I saw on this Raw. I think the writing was horrible, and a lot of the presence that they used for this show was not good. They really, I don't know what it is. They are really good for a couple of weeks, maybe even up to a couple of months, and then they just lose it. They just lose sight of everything they're doing, and everything goes downhill. And I'm going to give you examples of that as we talk. So it starts out with Kurt Angle. He starts talking, and he's quickly interrupted by Stephanie McMahon. Stephanie McMahon starts talking about all the things Kurt Angle is doing that is against what the Authority want. And then she starts to mention Roman Reigns. Roman Reigns comes down, and he says, look, if you're going to talk about me, say it to me. Blah, blah, blah. Starts talking about how he's against the Authority. This is doing nothing but hurting Roman Reigns as a character. And I don't understand what WWE doesn't get about that, because it's like, in this day and age, we all know it's scripted. We all know, they're actually pushing him as a main card guy. And they just keep pushing. And it's like the fans have let them know for the last 3 years that this is not somebody we accept as a top guy. And they're literally ruining his career. Because now it's to the point that literally every time he comes out, the crowd boos so bad that he can barely talk anymore. He can't even cut a promo. Well, not that he could cut a promo before, but he can barely get a word in edgewise because the crowd is drowning him out, and they just keep doing this. So that's one way they're not learning anything. So then Kevin Owens comes down and he says, well, actually, I've had issues with Vince, I've had issues with Shane, and here Stephanie is giving me a chance still. So they are fair and impartial, and there's this part where he's getting overly comfortable and puts his arm on Stephanie McMahon, and then Stephanie McMahon gives him the death gaze, and she's like, yeah, we are fair. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to put you talking to Kevin Owens in a match with Roman Reigns. And so that's what starts, is the match with Roman Reigns, and Kevin Owens starts the show after that opening segment. There's really nothing remarkable about this match at all. There's no standout moments. And I have to say that Roman Reigns really does need to start adding moves to his repertoire, because it was kind of the same old tired shtick at this point. He's throwing punches. He's doing these short clotheslines that look like shit because they don't follow through. It doesn't sell at all. And so the match ends with Jinder Mahal comes down, he interferes, and he's beating up Roman Reigns because of what Roman Reigns did to him last week. And then Roman Reigns starts getting beat down by both Jinder Mahal and Kevin Owens. In the ring, Seth Rollins comes down and saves Roman Reigns. So you come back from a commercial after that happens, and then it is now Reigns and Rollins versus Owens and Mahal. And again, nothing really spectacular about this. Roman Reigns was in there a lot of the match, and there was not anything really sold very well, especially when it was Roman Reigns versus Jinder Mahal. The only time that I think this match really took off was, of course, when Seth Rollins gets tagged in, and he's taking care of both Mahal and Owens. He's literally beating them both pillar to post. He does a suicide dive out to one side of the ring with Kevin Owens, jumps back in, goes to the other side with a suicide dive on Mahal. I know, it's just really quick action, really frenetic pace. It keeps you invested in the match. And Seth Rollins is one of those really rare guys where he can work both being fast, both, doing the high flying and technical moves, but he can also tell a story in his matches, and that's a rare find, honestly. I really like Rollins. He's damn good at what he does. But like I said, that was the only highlight of the match, and it was a pretty short part. So, I mean, there was nothing really great about this match. Roman Reigns and Rollins get the win, and the only mentionable part about the match is afterwards, Reigns and Rollins are going up the ramp, and they both get attacked by Mahal with a steel chair. So that leads into Rollins is going to face Mahal next week. And we're almost at the 9 o'clock hour right after all of that. Like, it was such a long match, so drawn out, and not very good to be that drawn out, honestly. Then, right after that, just before the 9 o'clock hour, Sami Zayn starts this absolutely garbage segment with Bobby Lashley. You have 3 guys that come out in drag, supposedly Bobby Lashley's sisters, and it's just one of the worst promos I've ever seen. The writing was absolutely fucking horrible. This is the type of shit that loses viewers, honestly. Like, I don't know that I've honestly ever seen a segment this fucking bad, and that's after the Bobby Lashley segment that started this whole sisters shtick, which was horrible. And Sami Zayn was the one carrying this, and he deserves so much better than this, honestly. Sami Zayn is so much better than what they gave him. And then, of course, you have Bobby Lashley after this drawn-out 10-15 minute segment where all these, dudes, like I said, dressed in drag, are talking like they're Lashley's sister. He comes down and he starts throwing everybody out of the ring, and it was supposed to be, Lashley saving face from his promo a week ago and building him up to be the savior of this horrible segment. But the problem is that it didn't go over like that. The crowd didn't buy into Lashley coming down. They didn't give a shit. It was a completely botched writing fest there. I mean, it was horrible, horrible writing. And so everything just failed at that point, and there was no recovery. And so now you've got a match that lasted an hour and one garbage segment that was probably the worst thing I've seen in the last 20 years of wrestling. So that says a lot. After that, you get an Alexa Bliss promo. She's talking about her match with Ember Moon coming up. It's a Money in the Bank qualifier match. And she's talking about how she's going to beat Ember and go on to win the Money in the Bank contract. And Alexa Bliss, I mean, you could give her anything and she could make it good. Even that holy garbage segment with her and Bayley a while back, the Bayley This Is Your Life thing, it was terrible. But she did as good as she could with what they gave her. And that's one thing about Alexa Bliss, is she personalizes everything, makes it her own, and sells it very well. So even in this promo, short to the point, but very well. Then you get to the match. Pretty good match. I like both Moon and Bliss a lot in the ring. I think they're incredibly talented. And I think they gave it to the right person. Ember Moon hits the Eclipse, wins clean over Bliss. And I really liked their building Ember Moon. She's just coming into the main roster. She absolutely killed it in NXT. She's got a hell of a lot of potential. And I really can't wait to see what she does in a Money in the Bank ladder match. That should be interesting. So you go from a decent match, the only one of the night so far, to fucking No Way Jose, who is instant jobber status, and Baron Corbin, who I've never liked. And I don't know that they've really had a rivalry, except for, Baron trying to destroy No Way Jose's fun. Stupid storyline, nobody's invested in it, and I don't think anybody cared about the match. It wasn't that spectacular. I will say that No Way Jose started off like a house of fire, and it was pretty entertaining to start, but then it became your basic bullshit. Baron Corbin picks up the win. He doesn't need the win as much as No Way Jose, and I thought the whole thing was garbage. I did. Backstage, you get a segment with Kurt Angle and Chad Gable. Chad Gable coming over to Raw. He hasn't done anything yet. He's trying to get into the Money in the Bank ladder match, of course. And Angle's like, I don't see that happening. And then I think Chad Gable said something about getting back into this tag team thing. And then Kurt Angle's like, well, I brought you here to be a singles competitor. And then Dolph Ziggler and Drew McIntyre interrupt, and of course they're talking shit about Chad Gable, and I mean, nothing spectacular. I do like Ziggler and McIntyre, but the whole thing was not really relevant to me. After that, you get the B team versus Bri Sango, and all four of these guys have never really been anything spectacular in the ring to me. Honestly, I think probably Fandango's probably the most talented of them all, I think. And, you know, they're a bunch of jobbers. So you've got a jobber tag team match where there's really no relevance to this. You have Curtis Axel and Bo Dallas, who have just officially named themselves the B team. So they're this new thing going on, and they beat Bri Sango last week. No big spots in the match this week. Nothing really relevant. B team goes over again, but I don't know that this is going to go anywhere because I just don't see them pushing Axel and Dallas. I just don't see it. So the relevance of this match and this win to me is really nothing, because if you're not going to do anything with the B team after this, if at some point you're just going to job them out again, which more than likely they're going to, then this whole thing is pointless. Then you get Ronda Rousey, Nia Jax, Money in the Bank, Raw Women's Championship match signing. Stephanie McMahon is overseeing it. She's doing the whole heel thing where she's goading both of the girls to like hate each other. And eventually Nia Jax ends up and says, you're not going to beat me, blah, blah, blah. And it looks like if they're going to turn anyone heel, it's going to be Nia Jax, it looks like. Which she's been heel mostly anyway. But you have two faces, and it's like it looks like they're trying to pick one for a heel spot. But it was really underused. You know, Ronda Rousey, she signs the title, she moves the table, she gets in Nia Jax's face, she says, I'm going to take your title in your arm, and nothing happens. So, I don't know, I feel like the whole thing is a waste of time. I feel like it's a waste of resources. You bring in Ronda Rousey, you have literally, legitimately the biggest name brought into the company since Brock Lesnar came back as a legitimate force to be reckoned with. You have somebody that on paper is going to be money. You want to put her in matches that are going to make her look good. Now, first of all, she's only been in one match, and it was a tag team match at WrestleMania, which was months ago. Now you're bringing her in again after absolutely nothing and putting her in a match with somebody who cannot wrestle at all, who has come very close to injuring half the fucking roster. And I mean, you're literally doing nothing for Ronda Rousey at this point. You might make her champion, maybe, but what does it mean? So, I don't know. I don't like the match. I didn't like the segment. I think it's a very big waste of talent. And then you get Dolph Ziggler versus Chad Gable. Ziggler's got McIntyre in his corner. This is actually a pretty good match. I really like the dynamic of both of these guys being very good amateur wrestlers, and that's how they started out. It was a nice mat wrestling match. Chad Gable was actually in the Olympics, so that says a lot about where Chad Gable is as far as actual professional athleticism. And Dolph Ziggler was a collegiate wrestler that had like an amazing record. So I forget exactly what it was, but Ziggler's no slouch either. So it was very, very cool to see these guys going at it like that. The probably 3-4 minute mark, it wasn't a very long match. Ziggler starts doing the actual WWE style wrestling where he gets a nice super kick on Gable, and then it goes into the regular match from there. And at the end, Ziggler, he hits a super kick, gets the win on Gable. McIntyre comes in, hits his finishing move. And it was funny, one thing I wanted to point out was like, McIntyre, I didn't realize how big that dude was, but he towered over everybody in that interview segment with Kurt Angle, Dolph Ziggler, and Chad Gable. Like, the dude is literally head and shoulders above everybody else. I didn't realize he was that big, and he's built like a brick. So yeah, now that they're bringing him in and he's got this new look, new build, I'm really excited to see what they do with him. I hope they actually do something good with him because he's got the look now. After that, you get Dana Brooke versus Liv Morgan versus Sarah Logan versus Natalya. And this is a Money in the Bank qualifier match. It's basically a 2-on-2 because Liv Morgan and Sarah Logan, of course, are both part of the Riot Squad. And they're not going to fight each other, so it's basically Dana Brooke and Natalya versus the Riot Squad. And thankfully they had Natalya win. Natalya, she's been there the longest, she's got the most experience, she's definitely the most talented of the four. So I was really, really happy that I saw that. Then Charlie Caruso interviews Natalie after the match, or Natalie, either way. And Nat's like talking about Money in the Bank, how Ronda Rousey's going to win the championship and she's going to get the Money in the Bank briefcase. And if that happened, that would actually be really cool because that would set up a really interesting dynamic because they're supposed to be friends. One's the champion, one has the briefcase. So that could set up some very fun things. And Natalya is really good at being heel. So it's interesting to see if they go that route. I think that would be a very, very cool thing to see. Then you have a match with Elias versus Bobby Roode. Elias, he's really got the crowd won over. Like, he's got a good gimmick and he sells it very well. And even when he's trying to do his heel thing and he's talking trash to the crowd, they're still cheering him. Like, that's how good he is. Like, people are just like, they're not going to boo him, which I think is really funny. And it just goes to show you can still be a damn good heel and have a good shtick and still have the crowd love you. And I say that because you have people that I like, Carmella, that I talk about a lot. When the crowd realizes you suck, they're going to let you know you suck. So Bobby Roode comes out. He interrupts the whole segment that Elias is doing. So he's walking through the ropes. Elias just jumps him. It was a decent match. There was, nothing special about it. And as you can see, there's a theme here tonight. There's nothing special about it. So Elias wins, and that was that. Again, this is the thing where, Bobby Roode, he's 40 plus at this point. He's very experienced and still in amazing shape. He's pretty new to WWE still. I think he should be getting a bigger push than he is. I understand with the age thing, they're not going to put all their eggs in one basket because they don't know how many years they have left in this guy. Because let's face it, this is a young man's game. But I just would like to see him have that good run here. I don't hate Elias winning because I do like Elias too, and he is a young man that they can build a future with. But I would just love to see Roode get, a big run before he has to bow out. So, but the funniest thing about this match actually was after the match, Elias, he's kind of celebrating going back up the ramp, and Braun Strowman comes through Gorilla and comes out through the curtain and just bowls over Elias. I thought that was hilarious. Braun Strowman's always looking tough. Every week they just make this guy an absolute monster, which is cool. And I still say, though, last week I wish they would have had Braun Strowman and Drew McIntyre actually face off and McIntyre actually do some damage. Make both of these guys look very strong toward each other. I would have loved to have seen that. But, so the finish of the show, we're already at the last match, Braun Strowman versus Finn Balor. And it was your typical David and Goliath thing, it was Finn Balor starting off quick, dodging, getting out of the way, and throwing in quick strikes. And eventually Braun Strowman catches him and does his power man thing for a while, throwing him around the ring. And so that was kind of to be expected. Braun Strowman carries most of the momentum during that match. Finally, Finn Balor gets to a point to where he's got Braun on stride. He does that running drop kick that he does, sends Braun Strowman into the crowd. Braun Strowman pops up, grabs him by the neck. Finn Balor does a real quick kick to the head. And they were making Finn Balor look strong, which I liked. They were making him look competent against somebody like Braun Strowman. And of course, at the end, Braun Strowman, he gets the win. And it was cool because these guys were both going to be in Money in the Bank. And so it kind of has Money in the Bank implications. Not really, though. This was probably the best match of the night, though, honestly. I think Strowman and Finn Balor did as good as they absolutely could. I'm really impressed with Strowman because for a guy that's like almost 7 feet tall and pushing 400 pounds, the guy can really move. I mean, he's fast, he's agile, and there's nothing but muscle on this guy. I mean, it's amazing how big this dude is, and it all muscle. It's crazy. So I think that they have somebody that they can really build something with there. He's definitely an attraction within its own. I think that, when Brock Lesnar leaves, whenever that is, Braun Strowman is somebody that could legitimately fill his shoes just by appearance alone. So, but unfortunately, like I said, that was the best match of the night, and it wasn't stellar. I mean, it was good, it was entertaining, but that was really the only good match of the night. And the Bobby Lashley, Sami Zayn segment was just god-awful. That alone deserves a not good score. The fact that you had the entire first hour, one match, really, that wasn't that great is another really bad mark. Then you have fillers. Like, there's so many fillers in this show of, like, low mid-card guys or jobbers that nobody really gives a shit about. You got No Way Jose versus Baron Corbin. You got the B-Team versus Bri Sango. All these guys that nobody's done anything with. I think they really screwed up the Ronda Rousey, Nia Jax thing. I just didn't feel like this was a great show at all. As a fan, this is not what I would want to watch. And if this was like, I would have to imagine if this was like a new person watching this for the first time, it would not get them invested. As a matter of fact, it would be like, you know what, that's probably something I just don't ever want to watch again. Being somebody who has watched the state of the WWE decline since 87, 86 is how long I've been watching. They've lost their touch on so many things. They got a lot better, I think, toward WrestleMania, and even for a few weeks afterward, they were pretty good, and then it just steady decline since. Which is unfortunate, because it used to be, virtually every show was really, really good. And now it seems like toward WrestleMania they pick up the pace, but then it's just gone again. So yeah, 2 out of 10, and I think that's probably more than fair for what they did for this show. So, well, I don't know, guys. Let me know what you think. Let me know in the comments if you thought anything about the segments. Especially, let me know what you think about Bobby Lashley's segment. I'm really interested to hear opinions on that, because I may be being overly harsh, but I feel like that was probably the worst segment they've ever done. And that's saying something, because they've had some pretty bad segments before. So, yeah, that's where I'm at. Ladies and gentlemen, hit the like button, subscribe, and share. My name is Kevin Jackwitz. This is the Cage Nation. Cage Nation out.